Colorado Public News sat down with members of the House of Representatives from Colorado to determine how they're voting on repeal of the health care bill and what provisions are causing them to vote yes or no.
I will vote against the repeal of the Affordable Care law that we passed last year. And the reason I'm going to vote against the repeal is because I think the repeal is really pretty extreme and radical when there are so many important provisions in the legislation we passed last year. There's freedom from discrimination against people with prior illnesses. There's freedom from cancellation just because you get sick. There's freedom to move from job to job without losing your insurance. And just those three alone are a reason not to repeal a thing. Obviously, there are things that can be done to improve any piece of legislation, and that's really what the Republicans should be doing, not repealing the whole thing and starting over, because these are freedoms that have been fought for years and decades. The 14th Amendment, the equal protection of the laws, is really what underlies the whole bill, because people with prior illnesses had been discriminated against. And it could be a woman with breast cancer or a child with diabetes. I have a daughter with epilepsy. She didn't ask to have epilepsy. It's just the way she's constructed. But she could be discriminated against because of that condition that she has. And I find it very unusual that in a one-page repeal, which could just say we're repealing the Affordable Health Care Act, they use the word job killing 5 times, as if that really helps. We know that within the healthcare arena, that there will be millions of jobs created across the country under that particular act. And so I find that their main use of this job killing words to try to repeal this piece of legislation is way over the top. There are places where it could be improved. I have a large church in my congressional district, and they have a big daycare center operation, and so a lot of part-time people. And so you need to take a look at how many hours somebody should work before they get the benefits of the health care legislation, because it gets very expensive at that point. We should also take a look at fixing the 1099 problem, which requires some additional reporting under taxes. So there are things where the legislation can be improved, but to just throw away the entire legislation when it makes such giant strides forward, especially on doing away with discrimination against people with pre-existing illnesses and conditions, I think is wrong. The President spoke a few days ago about we can do better, we must do better, and I think this piece of legislation that we passed really does make America better, makes us more competitive with the rest of the world in terms of health care, and really corrects some things that were either unconstitutional because it didn't give equal protection of the laws, or were just plain wrong.